Okay, we'll see how it goes. I have no notes today. Whatever. Show my teeth, all right? Going back to Monkey Mind today, not doing the Brainstormer song. So that'd be kind of cool. Kind of cool. Play that out. Hey, monkey. Oof. Had some monkey going on for moi. Going on lots of crazy shit. Man. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. Chandler. Clean. Hey, babies. Swan. What's up, man? About to go live in... and y'all can always listen to this also on the radio if you want. It's on, what is it, 102.3.com, something like that. Oh, it's on this thing. Where the hell is it? Yeah, it's WHIVFM.org. Okay. I think we're about ready. Yeah, we're close enough. Hello, this is WHIV FM 102.3. We honor independent voices. And it is about to be 10 o'clock. And this is Monkey Mind with Rob. And this is a show dedicated to, let's see, brain cancer. I was like, oh yeah, everybody wants to hear about that, right? And living in one's moment, which is the universal thing. And my name's Rob. And yeah, we'll get on with the show. The did no kind of bad. I've been very wrapped up in. Okay, we go back to the origins of the show. Okay, my name's Rob. 2005, I got diagnosed with a GBM brain cancer. Go figure. And they kind of gave me, I mean, they didn't like give anything to me, but they told me basically it was it was like I had like 6 months to live back then, because like brain cancer is pretty aggressive, and a GBM is like what they consider a 4. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 on the aggression of your cancer tumor, and so it wasn't good. And I didn't think I had it prior to that. Did an MRI, had a lot of headaches. Just thought I was depressed and getting dumber by the minute. I had a lot of stress factors that I embraced. My monkey mind was loving it. That's the other part of the show is of course, the monkey mind. That's a Buddhist term for our thinker, which is, I kind of consider it pretty much kind of like a parasite. A parasite you can love. And I kind of sync it also up with cancer. I think they're very one and the same kind of beasts. They're natural, but you can also, you don't have to be really a slave to them, and you ask cancer to leave your body. That's what I was taught. You don't want to fight cancer or bring out more negatives. I just looked up at the clock. I was like, okay, 1 minute in. That's it. That's all I got. But, yeah, so, well, and this time, too, it's so much in our head. A lot of us are dealing with, this isolation. And it's one thing to do this like naturally, because I notice I kind of live sort of like this. I mean, I live alone, and yeah, I don't know where that was going, but anyway, I live alone, so I'm kind of sort of isolated for a lot of the part. I'm kind of a little bit more, I guess, of a loner, though. I like people. I like people fine, but yeah, having somebody tell you or have certain things restricted from you kind of makes you, of course, want it. The tease of it. Yeah. So yeah, so it gets us a lot in our heads and stuff, and our thinker comes out, and our thinker, or our monkey mind, as I'll start calling it now, since we're on the same page. The monkey mind just wants something to do. Doesn't care. It loves being a victim because it makes it right and others wrong. Anything that empowers it is a good thing, and being miserable empowers it because, again, you're a victim, so others are wrong, have done you wrong, so it kind of empowers it in a way, though it's a kind of a pretty unhealthy empowerment, but it's a one you can always achieve. People are doing wrong, they're not doing right, so you're better than that, and yeah, it's kind of unhealthy, and it just really hijacks you. Why? Well, then you go, well, why am I not the monkey mind? What else is there? Well, there is your awareness and your consciousness that can sit back and listen to the crazy train of your thoughts. That you can sit back and calmly listen to it and just witness it. That is the more essence of what we are. And I think, I mean, I haven't had somebody tell me this, but this is on my, and all this, yeah, I gotta add my little footnote. All this stuff I'm telling you, it's pretty much, I don't know how true it is. I mean, I think it's true. I wouldn't tell you otherwise, but who knows? I could be just as delusional. And in fact, a lot of people with this brain cancer thing, they really will try and use that against people with cognitive issues. They're like, well, you're the one with the brain, or they'll say, well, you have mental issues when they're trying to convince you of something, which is kind of, but is what it is. But and it's hard to get too mad at people, because most of the people that you're getting in arguments or having difficulty with, they don't know. They think they're that monkey, and that monkey's just going off, and they can't help it. Like my mom's big into telling me that, because she's got, when I got sick, she got very religious, praying for me and stuff like that, because she basically heard that I was going to die. I'm her only baby, and yeah, so she kind of went back to more, I guess, Jesus Christ and so forth like that. I'm just not that into it. I try and be cool with her on that, but I think a lot of my belief system are one and the same. I just can't, I could never wrap my head around the kind of personification of the infinite. Like that is what I would imagine people way back when would do to try and even kind of grasp it, because if God is everything, then he's no thing. He's just every single thing. You couldn't like pinpoint it down to one thing. Like he wouldn't be like a male. Like it's always described as he is he's the patron of the cosmos, and which seems natural. We'd way back then we would identify with things in our life and then make analogies to it. So it's only natural, and I think it can be cool. I don't think we have to look at ourselves. I think we can look at all ourselves as providing ourselves those kind of redemption. Like I think, just like I guess to go to heaven, and I think heaven could just be really a metaphor for enlightenment or making peace with what is at this moment. Whereas it's not some grandiose nirvana you go to in the sky with clouds and angels and all that stuff. It's peace of mind, and it's right here now. I think, what is that song? Heaven is a place on earth. What, like 80s song maybe? I don't know, blanking. But yeah, no, I think it's right here now with all of us. We just have to embrace it and be grateful for what is right now. Oh, like the other thing I was kind of thinking, like it would go on, like that awareness, like you are life. There is no life without you. You know, your body, you know, is gonna, you know, drift off into the particles that it is, feeding other daisies. But I think that little essence, and it's probably gonna be pretty far from, like, you're not gonna have all your cool hobbies and your love interest and all that kind of stuff. I think it's gonna be a much more I don't know, just a wavelength or something. I don't know, but it's something that's in us right now that you can really feel if you put an effort into it and achieving it. I lose it all the time. I may sound like I'm talking down to you, like, oh, well, you don't do this or that. It's not. I'm falling out of it constantly. But I'm cognitive of it, so I can kick back into it. And I really practice this attempting to live in my moment. And because you can mess up, you can do things that you're ashamed of, your sin, you know, kind of like a Bible thing. You could do things that are pretty off. I mean, just, that was then. I mean, forgive yourself now and just keep rebooting it. You always have this moment. There is no past, and there is no future. It's just not. There's, time travel just isn't a thing. If you're time traveling, you're going to be traveling in your now to another, quote, space-time, but it's still now. It's always going to be now. You're going to be nowhere else for now. You're not going to do anything, think anything, become anything that isn't right now in your moment. That's when it's going to occur. And that can just be a constant thing. You can't mess up unless you just forget. And then just start riding the thing. And then you just come back to your now when you can. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, so I kind of definitely... Oh, I had another doctor appointment. If I can give you my status on brain cancer. So anyway, so back in the day, I had a GBM brain cancer. This was like 14, 15 years ago. I am one of the only freaky people to survive like 14, 15 some years with this. I mean, there are others out there, and I've seen one on our websites. I think I found one that I think said there were 19 years, but I need to track it down. But there's a really good Facebook site where people and caregivers, family members with GBMs and all that kind of stuff are on there, kind of talking about who's done what's working for them, you know, advice on the symptoms you get from doing certain treatments. Because there's so much with dealing with cancer, it's sometimes the treatments are some of the most brutal part of it. Not all the time, but a lot of it. Why was I bringing that up? Oh, because my recent doctor's appointment. Anyway, I got 2 doctors now. I had the first one came in with my insurance, because I had like an HMO. I think it's an HMO, and it's so you have to get everybody that's in like that network, and it was all like Oshner stuff. Really cool guy. I kind of like it. I like his demeanor a lot. I always like that when you really like your doctor. I think that's just the coolest thing. If you don't, I would really suggest trying to find a doctor that you like. I mean, one of my things was, man, if I'm going to just go out, like I'm going to die, I'd rather be around people that I really have a good, and it's, you know, it's a job, but he laughs at some of my jokes. And so he just seems funny. But he's a surgeon, or I call him a cutter. I think I got that from maybe listening to my dad or something. That's like a slang they call the brain surgeons. And then my other guy is a oncologist, so he monitors all really the drugs. And when you're doing like cancer, I don't know that much about other cancers, and I don't really know that I know all that much about GBMs for that matter either. But I do know just from experience what I've gone through. And they don't get it, or at least they didn't get mine with just brain surgery. They kind of at first acted like the guy was just going to knock it out of the park. And my first brain surgeon, I mean, I probably shouldn't say any names to protect the innocent. But anyway, they acted kind of like, and it wasn't my current doctor, but they kind of acted like they were going to cure me of cancer. And I was a little shocked and maybe a little ignorant. Well, yeah, definitely a little ignorant, or maybe a lot, that it was going to be like that. And even after the brains, I guess they were just super stoked after my first brain surgery that I just could function. And I've had some friends of mine that were actually doctors, and they were just kind of saying, "Bull, Rob, this doesn't add up. You couldn't be functioning like this if you had that." I was like, "No, I really do. And it's kind of funny. I remember I was on a beach in San Diego with a friend, and we were sitting there, and he was a doctor, and I'd met him through New Orleans. I had a surf shop for a couple of years in the city. I know, we sold apparel and stuff too, so we made it work. But anyway, so he was on the beach, and he was just like, and I was pretty gimpy. I think I had just come off chemo, and my wife at the time and I had gone to San Diego for a trip, because I had family that had a place in was it Crystal something? It was something really beautiful, like cliff, but she like managed a really elegant kind of Marriott or Hilton or something like that. But I mean, it was really cool. It had like, villas in it and stuff like that. It was very fancy, and just right off, kind of reminded me of that scene in, and it may have been the same, it may have been shot there, come to think of it, because that's all like, what is that, Orange Beach, or, I don't know, I'm really bad with that, and, or I never paid much attention. But on The Big Lebowski, like scene where they're throwing Donnie's ashes and on that cliff, if it wasn't that, it looked exactly like, it had to have been that place. It's not far from it, wherever this place we stayed. And anyway, so we went down to San Diego, I guess, driving. It's not right there, but it's a little bit of a drive. But and then we visited another friend, and he had a place right off, what is that, OB, the pier? Something like that. And it was kind of cool. And yeah, but he was a doctor, and I was telling him about it because I was just coming off chemo, and he was just freaked out. Rightly so, because he's like, when I went through it, I didn't have anybody in that thing that was going through, hey, I did this, and I'm kicking. I heard rumors about some doctor that had done it at MD Anderson, and because where I later went back over there and for a second opinion, and then I pretty much stayed there for treatment. And there, like most, I did but this is like 15 years ago, so protocols have changed a little bit. But it's surprisingly close to the same. Yeah, so I did like radiation, and what else did I do? So like they zapped my hair follicles, so now I just shave my head, because I have like kind of weird bald spots. The hair follicle got killed, because they radiate through your head. And like last week too, I was kind of tripping on the whole phone thing was coming back to me, because back in the day, they had a lot of doctors, and doctors are like lawyers and everything else. You can find one to tell you anything you want. I mean, it's just it's it ain't easy to find out what reality is of something. Everybody's just human, and they're, I guess, working the best they can with what they got, and they got issues. But anyway, there were a lot of doctors, not a lot, there were some videos I saw of doctors on like YouTube and stuff like that, talking about how they were thinking that there was a direct correlation between brain cancer and cell phone usage. And I do remember back in the day when I had a different kind of job, talking on my phone just a lot, and the thing would get like hot. And as I've heard, the heat that generates off that that's radiation. I guess as our in minor degrees kind of wavelengths or something like that. I don't know. I'm not that savvy on it. Though I have heard this 5th generation of Wi-Fi, the 5G, is pretty spooky stuff. And the wavelengths I think it utilizes are awesome for moving data, but they're also awesome in their degree of potential for harm for us. Like putting them all over every corner. I mean, they got to, I think I've heard that they have to be, the poles, they have to have a lot of them around the place. And they're able to utilize technology that was studied way back in I think it was 67, and it was called Project Bazaar. You can probably look it up. I have not looked it up. I'm just talking smack. That's what I heard. Where the military, our military, was doing experiments on manipulating people, kind of attempting to dummy down others, and apparently they succeeded. There are wavelengths that can be pushed into us, and the 5G has the capability to do it, to make us kind of sleepy. I think there was like 5 things. One was like sleepy, like I said. The other one was like I don't know. They had terms for it, like lethargic. There were like 5 emotions or moods they could generate with wavelength on us, and basically all of them basically dummied us down, pacified us, and is it any wonder that Chinese are championing this technology? And that was one of the things that what is that? Huawei? What's that? I don't know. It starts with an H, but it's like it's a Chinese. It's a big Chinese, like our iPhone or a I don't know. I don't pay attention much to the other ones, but yeah. So it's like a Chinese-based company, and they locked I want to say they arrested the chief officer of it in Canada, maybe British Columbia or something like that. Well, it's some time ago. I haven't heard much on it, but yeah. I mean, I was going off some because with this whole Corona thing too. It's Corona, and they're looking at that was like they were saying bat soup at first, which is a maybe, but then that what is it, like a military thing that then we actually funded years ago, and that guy kind of championed that, because I guess that guy, the Fossey guy, the cute kind of little guy, at all the the meetings and stuff and the thing. Anyway, he I guess with Obama, they financed that group that now they're saying they messed up and it released this thing at the nearby market. Like the guy who was working there contaminated himself, went to the market, and then there you go, because it was like a block away or something like that. So he was having his lunch break there. But anyway, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true, but the Chinese are definitely at war with the States. It's just a Sun Tzu kind of war. It's try and take you over economically or by whatever means. So they're gangsters. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, hey, back to the doctor's appointment. So it was a virtual one because they're trying to do all the the virtual stuff, and so like I said, he's my cutter. So he's just kind of a green. I don't even know. I guess he could probably even as just a surgeon, he could probably he'd probably hand that off to an oncologist. But anyway, my oncologist has me on temozolomide, which is an oral kind of industry standard for treating brain cancer. It's a oral thing that you can kind of take at home. And so I've been on that. I think I've been on that for like 6 months now. So basically I had 14 years where I was like doing nothing and just doing MRIs like every year. And they were seeing because and I'm not supposed to say like I'm not supposed to take possession. That's what my Reiki taught me. I'm not supposed to take possession of the cancer. The cancer is just either in my body or it's not, but it's not mine. Just like I guess I'm not supposed to really take possession of my monkey mind either, but I kind of like to. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So Okay, I'll just go back to the where meeting. I didn't finish that one either. So you can see I have some cognitive stuff. I get kind of confused, but I work really well with it. It used to be so bad I couldn't function at all. I mean, I could function, but it was just exhausting. I couldn't get 3 words out. I couldn't get a point. If I walked into another room, I didn't walk in with the intention of why I went in there. And so it would be like a mystery. And sometimes I'd have to go back to where I started to reboot the entire system and then just kind of preach it as a mantra going into the next room. But through that, I really learned a lot of just patience with myself and just trying to go easy. And I think that's such a lesson for us all to always practice that with us, to not let that monkey mind just start to victimize us and, just try and run the show. Like, sit back. And I think it's how you approach it. You also don't want to get mad at your monkey mind. You want to kind of, because the monkey can't help it. It just wants to do stuff. And that's where I heard the analogy from that Buddhist monk on his monkey mind is he was trying to meditate. He's like, man, it's just so hard meditating because there's so much chatter in my head. My mind always wants to do something. So I asked my monkey, this is a Buddhist monk, to listen to my breath. He's like, am I breathing? And my monkey will sit there and he'll like listen to the breath, and he's quiet. And I have a moment there. And then it's kind of like a thing where you could almost kind of keep doing that. Because I made the epiphany that's where you meditate. You're not meditating like I'm going to go meditate for 30 minutes. That ain't how it's done. You're going to go meditate, and you're going to meditate right now, and then you're going to meditate right now, and then you're going to meditate right now. It is a momentary awareness of where you are in this moment. And so much of life, it's the other analogy, I was making this a lot recently, because my monkey's been playing and running my show, but I kind of I agree with my monkey sometimes. I'm like, yeah, monkey, you got a good point. And I also like be nice. Like sometimes my mind is just going right, and I was like, I know, man, you're bummed out. I got you. It's okay. Just go for it. And you can just let your monkey just do its thing. Fighting your monkey, like I said, goes to the cancer thing. You don't really, fighting begets fighting. And it's kind of about, everything boils down, I think, making peace with what is. Now you can change stuff, or if you can't change it, then you can get away from it. If you can't get away from it, then you make peace with it, or surrender to it. And surrender is a good word to use, because that usually will get your monkey aggravated. Monkey doesn't like to surrender. But then you can it's kind of surrendering to what is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't have to be, like, things are unjust, and it's not like you're giving up to that, but it is. You couldn't change it. You couldn't get away from it, so it is. So it is a reality in your moment, and you kind of got to make peace. You don't got to do anything, but you should practice making peace with your moment. Prior to me getting diagnosed, we're going to get to the where thing, what he said, maybe. But what was that? Oh, no, I think I lost. All right, we'll go back to the where thing. I just lost where I was going. But I'm staring at this very trippy painting that's in the other room. And yeah, it's got these hearts and these little things flowing out of it. Looks like it's trying to do something kind of very lovey-dovey. And I got this pretty spy boy, or not spy boy, but black Indian in here, of the what is commonly called the Mardi Gras Indians. And that was one of my art therapy things that I did, is I wrote a children's book. And my lead character was a 8-year-old, and I wrote it kind of like, I didn't write it kind of like, I wrote it as a first person. So it was kind of like, it was like Huckleberry Finn in a way. And so my protagonist, he was a 8-year-old spy boy, and he was doing it for the first time in his dad's tribe. And yeah, so he got a really good looking young Indian really staring at me right here. Woo, wow. But get back to the story. Anyway, so I just had a meeting with Where. So I had an MRI that was from last month, that my other doctor saw, my oncologist. He says he saw a slight reduction in the suspect area over my brainstem, which you would think would be like, yay. I was kind of like, because like a reduction, I would assume means, because I'm still kind of hoping that this area is what's called scar tissue. Like my first area, my GBM was on my right frontal lobe, a pretty large thing. But when you see an MRI of it, it has like a black space in it where they've removed tissue through the surgeries. And then it just fills up, I think, with fluid. And then all around it has like this really white kind of wispy things. And that is usually either the white stuff like that they look identical or very much the same on MRIs. They show up as like white. It depends on the contrast you use, but yeah. And it's so it looks, scar tissue looks like brain cancer, basically, is what I'm trying to stutter out. And so that area has been stagnant, and so that's why they determined, or they surmised that it was scar tissue all around that original GBM. This new potential area, which had the same white wispy kind of thing, was over my brainstem and what is it, cerebellum? I don't know, something like that. But I think it's more brainstem, and yeah. So that I was kind of hoping, because one of the theories is that my brain, way back when we were doing the chemo, got just saturated with all that, beautiful. I'm supposed to be more positive, my Reiki says to my tumor, my treatments. She's like, well, just be loving to your chemotherapy or something like that. It's like, I guess it's just a practice of being positive of everything, and that's a pretty beautiful and kind of way to go, regardless. Because even you go out on something, we're all gonna die. You might as well enjoy the ride, and yeah, and, death is just a part of life as much as breathing. But anyway, back to that. I don't know if I lost that one. The tumor. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was kind of hoping like it wouldn't change much, because then that would be like my other one, which I don't think is changing. But tell you honestly, I really don't know that much about it. Hearing that, I was like, But then I go to my other doctor, so he kind of wants me to keep up with the treatments and all that stuff. But we're not doing another MRI for another, I think he said like 3 months. So that's kind of cool, because they're kind of expensive too. But anyway, so then that's my oncologist. So this is my other doctor. They kind of don't get along. But I mean, they get along well enough. But it's yeah. But you can see there's a little bit. I don't know about this guy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so my other doctor, my surgeon doctor, which also kind of frustrating maybe. This is not an ideal, what do they call that? They call it non-operable. But my surgeon, who is is the surgeon guy, the cutter, he's like, Rob, everything is operable. Well, it's just they don't like to operate in this area just because it's very hypersensitive. Little cuts in it and removal can really cause a lot of damage. I assume it's very motor skill wise, but it could be cognitive too. I guess it's a mixed bag. Yeah, so he saw it and he's like, Rob, I think it looks pretty much the same. So, but they may also have different degrees of how they, like a cutter's version of regressing a tumor may be different from a oncologist. The subtleties of what each, you know what I'm saying, like how they would distinguish a micro change would be maybe different. I'm not totally sure of that, but that could be the case. So he said my cutter wasn't really seeing it, but he said it looks good. And then I asked him about, well, does that mean that there's maybe an outside chance it's scar tissue, just like what's around my right frontal? And he's like, GBMs have a tendency to like reoccur. I mean, he was like, most of the news I get from doctors is pretty dire. It's like, you're kind of screwed. But no, he was like saying it has just a tendency to come back, and also to migrate where you can't really see it, but it is, he's thinking, related to the same, because it goes back to all the theory I had. I was like, what are the chances of me having a GBM, and then this other location is it's pretty far in terms of brain stuff, and they weren't seeing like a real path to it, because that's kind of where cancer gets its thing, from the crab, because it kind of splinters out, and I guess they thought that resembled a crab, like it'll like meander, and so he was kind of leaning towards it, odds being, and it's also, like I said, I mean, it's like I'm kind of a real rarity in this to be out on it so long. So I don't know, but I mean, it's like, I'm not really, it's like, if you heard my spin on time, I'm really not that big into time. Like when I first got this diagnosis, like 7 months ago or something like that, 8 months ago, I was like, man. And I was alone at my place in bed, and I was just thinking, I was like, man. And then I started really just kind of getting into my moment, and I was like, man, this is like an eternity right now. This is cool. It's like, I'm ready for, bring it. And I don't get those epiphanies all the time, but man, they're beautiful when you get them, and when you can just really kind of feel yourself like eternal. Like you just are. You are, and it's a very profound kind of peace. But the monkey comes out to play. Like my thing lately, and I'm not really going to go into all kind of detail, but I will, just because it's maybe a little bit, because I've been hinting at it on the radio show. I've been having some issues. And I think I'd read somewhere, and I think it's the case, but I've always been like this. Like, I don't think, my ex-wife told me numerous times that my brain cancer, I just did it again. The brain cancer really changed my personality and changed me. I really don't think it did. I think what it did is it did some of the things I was pretty lousy at, and it amplified them. And maybe it did a few things that I was pretty good. I mean, it didn't help my my motor skills, I don't think, at all. I don't think it helped my thinking ability at all. But I mean, it's all there. It's like, what is that? Like they always say, you only use like, I don't know, a small percentage of your brain anyway. But it's like, and then it boils down to this. Like on the other show we do, I don't do it anymore because of the COVID thing. But my friend Red's show is all about brain injury. So mainly it's a mixed bag of people that have had head trauma and like me, it's called acquired, where basically your injury comes from like a tumor, I guess a stroke, or something like that. So most of the other guys in the group are traumatic, where it's been like auto accidents, motorcycle, violent attacks, stuff like that. But yeah, just people are, you get these tweaks, and it's subtle, and it's tough for people around you to get it all the time. Like my mom doesn't think there's anything wrong with me. And it's kind of frustrating sometimes when you can see and sense things in yourself. It's like kind of like I've heard people that maybe can't read. I'm not the greatest reader either, but there's some people that can't read, and they just adapt in the society. They learn the skill, and they really trick people. Like when I was first going through with my symptoms from brain cancer, I was hiding it because it just made me feel just crazy ignorant. I couldn't remember anything, and I just had to I was in a marriage I was trying to keep together. The wife was pretty much getting close to being sick of me anyway, and it was just like I did not want to get a divorce, and it's just a crazy thing. Things with your mind and altering it. like these, where sometimes people can't see and they don't really know what you're going through. Why did I tell you all that? I don't know. Oh, my mom. My mom's like, "Oh, you're fine, honey." It's like, all right, I'd like a little sympathy here. I'm trying to tell you something, and because nobody wants to hear. You don't want to hear your baby's got a bobo in their brain. Yeah, I mean I can only imagine going through that. That being said, a lot of people will use this against you. A lot of people will then say, well, who are you gonna believe, you, or we even call it out? Like I just had someone, maybe I'll leave it at that, like that, or just say someone. I just had someone use kind of even say that kind of stuff. Well, you're I don't even remember what they said, but it was like it's kind of like you're deranged, but it was like in a more the subtler word for it. Basically, you got mental problems. You're freaking out. And I was like, nah, this is the way it is. This ain't right. This is not right. And then people will like say, well, you don't really know what right is. And then they'll just lie to you, tell you things that just aren't true. It's a big thing with the human psyche, and they can't help it. I mean, I don't say anybody's bad. I'm not big into that either. Mom's always saying people are evil, and people can do some pretty sick stuff where you just take them out and just shoot them, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no ego in it. It's just that you can't be around it. They can't be around other people because they're too damaged. And I think that's just people constantly identifying with their monkey mind to the point where they become just disconnected. They're so narcissistic that they're a threat. Yeah, I can see that. But that doesn't mean they're bad. That just means they're totally identified with their monkey, their ego, and yeah, it's like so much stuff in life. It's some things seem pretty mean or something, but you don't have to do them in a cruel way. It's kind of like fighting the cancer. You're not really fighting it. It's more like a nice bouncer where you go up and you can personify the cancer and say, hey, you've had your fill of taking my life source. Now it's time to leave. It can be the Patrick Swayze, the Roadhouse of cosmic healing. And I think the human mind is just what we're connected to, the limitations we perceive in it and the reality of it is probably pretty far off. It's like the senses on how we perceive things around it. If we had different tweaks in it, everything would look completely different, sound different, like all the radio waves going around us and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I guess I did finish my surgeon story. He said he thinks it's the tumor. He still thinks it's cancer, but this is not a 4. So this is a 1 or a 2 by its contrast. Like you can judge, I guess, the intensity of it. If it goes like a whites out, maybe that would be more of a 4. I'm not really sure, so I'm totally talking. I'm just trying to logically figure out how he would determine that without a biopsy. And that's another thing they don't want to do. Like typically they go in and just biopsy if it's in a place where you can pretty much poke at it. Right frontal lobe, I think, was a pretty good place for surgery. And yeah, so he said he thinks it's from that thing, and that is technically how a GBM would start. It would start as a 1 or 2. So c'est la vie. But I mean, there's still maybe an outside chance it's scar tissue, because like I said, my brain was all saturated in that chemo that I took. I took an Avastin CPT cocktail, which is the kind that they inject into you. It's like hours. You're sitting in this room just watching daytime TV and just feeling nauseous. But it's all good. I keep saying it's all good. It's all beautiful. It's all part of our experience and our ride. And yeah, you should find joy, ease, and lightness in all of our moments. practice. Like I said, I if only I practiced all what I preached. I was not. I was talking to someone over the weekend, and I became very. My monkey said, "Hey, step aside. I got this," and my monkey started letting him have it. I think. Oh, I was talking about that. My right frontal lobe, I think, control. It has a tendency when you damage it. It has a tendency to increase your impulse. And what I've noticed when I get things that are what I think are things that are an injustice, I have a hard time not trying to change it. You know what I'm saying? Or get away from it. And it's like a very strong impulse. Like back when I had the retail shop. I think I talked about that briefly. Oh yeah, because of the surfer that I met out in San Diego. Yeah. Anyway, I had a surf shop in town, and my dad told me that he made it clear to me the what do you call it? The trades, not surplus, but the opposite of that, the whatever that's called. Anyway, our trade was not equal with China, and basically they had taken all of our manufacturing, and this was like, I don't know, man. This was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. Anyway, so I was kind of unaware of it. I didn't really watch a lot of news. I wasn't really paying attention to it. And then I was at my shop, and I remember I think I walked over to where the board shorts were, and I started going through all my board shorts. And I mean, I want to say every single one of them was made in China. I had no idea, because all these companies were like, of course, promoting, surf, and like each brand almost had like a geography. Like Billabong was Australia, Quicksilver was California, I guess Volcom was Hawaii, and yeah, so everybody kind of had their thing. But then they were just outsourcing just everything. And I mean, I think at the time, you couldn't go surfing in China, and they were basically, it was just messed up. So on hearing that, I was just like, well, forget this. And the next day I called up all my reps, and you order your merch. They send you catalogs, and then like the season before, you're buying for the next season, and etc. And I was like, listen, I don't want any more of the stuff made in China. You send me all the other stuff. And they were like, Rob, we really don't have that much stuff. And I was like, well, whatever you got, that's what I want. I don't want the other stuff. I'll find other things. And this was not very bright from a business standpoint, because I mean, they were a major chunk. I mean, the biggest thing was actually T-shirts, and it is the case for most surf shops globally. The number one thing they make their biggest bang for the buck is their turnover of in-house T-shirts. It's like, you buy the local, Rob Surf Shop or whatever the heck it is. You know what I'm saying? And that gets your biggest bang for the buck. It's a great souvenir for everybody. It's kind of the universal thing. Anyway, where was I going with it? Oh, the impulse thing. Yeah, but as soon as I heard that, it seemed messed up. And then when I synced it that China wasn't even really promoting surf for its people, then it was just like, well, forget it. That ain't cool. And but yeah, so then and then I think shortly thereafter, I think we had like a threefold thing happen with the shop, and it was like BP oil spill. It was my China thing, and then it was something else. I think it was something else that was more. But man, I'm blanking on it. It seemed like there were three things that happened that were really fun. Oh, I guess my brain cancer thing. I was oh, and I guess my partner, my wife at the time, did not really want to be in business with me. And I guess during that time, toward the latter part of that too, I was having lingering effects from seizures that I hadn't quite, because I had such cognitive, I could still kind of work the shop, but it's like working for yourself is kind of easy because you can really forgive yourself a lot. I mean, I think I had to quote, like, let go almost every person that worked there, because they all started trying to kind of emulate my work, my work ethic at the time, or what I could focus on, like not being on time much. I could barely work that cash register. But I think I had a pretty good don't know, customer service attitude. Like I remember being a kid going into surf shops, and you could get some people that were just complete snobs in there, where it just really kind of made you feel like you were not in the club at all, and it just wasn't very special. So I think why I took people coming into my shop, I really wanted to make them feel kind of at home and kind of a good Irie thing. Well, I don't know where that story was going at all, do I? But yeah, I guess the impulse was the whole point to that. But yeah, and so we closed the shop. But it's tough, man, dealing with but it's, you know, it's beautiful, it's easy too, you know. It's tough, whatever. We make it things, and we got to really watch preaching to ourselves. Our monkey will start, like I noticed the last couple of days, because I've been dealing with like what I can just call family drama, and sometimes you just gotta say, hey man, this ain't working. This ain't been working for a while. You know, I want to say I was rooting for you, but this ain't happening. And yeah, it's like some people just have a very good defense, or their monkey has a good defense where it doesn't allow them to be cognitive of their faults or wrongdoing to others, because that would mean the other is, quote, superior or something, so that would not support the monkey's vibe. But love your monkey, love that monkey. Ooh, 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 ooh. I don't know, how did this show go today? Was it too weird? But maybe later, next Saturday. Yeah, all right. I know I keep saying that, but it's like you can't project too much into the future. You really can't. So I shouldn't even do that. We're gonna stay now. We'll just do that. We don't know what's gonna go on. I don't know what's happening. But the monkey speaks. That's a cool song. But love yourself, and I don't know about this whole COVID thing, really. I think this is, what is it, 50,000 deaths? I mean, that's, of course, tragic for all the loved ones, missing their friends, family. But, you know, it's so much a part of this experience, and I'm not sure that, I don't know, do y'all think it's really that much different from the flu? I mean, I think it might have a slightly higher death rate, but haven't we all had the flu? And I think it's pretty safe to say that we were all going to get COVID-19 at some point. And it's like nature just has a way of, you know, keeping us, you know, it's a natural thing. This cancers, all this kind of stuff that, you know, fluffs out the, you know, the foliage, it's like looking at trees decaying and other trees growing up from it. Yeah, I don't know that, but I mean, people are kind of unsanitary a lot of times. Whew. And now when you see somebody, I saw a guy at the grocery store the other day, and I was like, man, I mean, he looked like he had it because of his symptoms, and he looked utterly unhealthy, just from his body type. And I hear that where this is really dangerous is if you got hypertension and you're overweight, which you're at health risk regardless. But that's supposed to really be the whammy for if you get this thing for people passing. And also compromised positions. So, and I think I just did the test yesterday. I was talking to my surgeon. I said, you know, I'm not sure. I didn't get COVID after Mardi Gras. I had a week afterwards where I was feeling just on the edge of catching a cold, like a bad cold, and I really was trying to be really gentle on myself and take it really easy. And what was I gonna say on that? Yeah, but 2 nights of that, so it was like a week of that. I felt really bad. I thought it was what do you call it, tree pollen, because the tree pollen's just been going nuts in New Orleans. Like my Jeep was yellow, and I was doing a lot of stuff outside that day. And when I came back, and then the next day, it just hit me like a wave. And it could have like lowered my immune, I don't know, but we'll see. I didn't get the results back. But man, sticking that thing up my nose, woo, that was, it was almost kind of fun in a weird way, kind of like a roller coaster kind of vibe. But yeah, I remember going, woo, because she did it in the car. I was like a drive-through. My doctor made me the appointment, and it was weird. It was like a drive-through. She came out. I tried to make the woman laugh. I said, "Ma'am, I ordered a Big Mac and a large Coke and fries." She thought it was funny, but and then she shoved that thing up my nose. But she was very gentle, and it was cool. But man, it kind of tickled because it goes way up into your nasal cavity where usually you never stuck anything. And it tickles, I think, in a weird way. Like I was riding on my butt. I was like, but she was saying, well, don't cough and don't move too much. But I was going at it. Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna see if I can pull up Monkey Mind here. Ooh, let me see on this. I don't know if I can. Now that I'm saying that, I definitely don't want to sing. I feel like I ate a horse or a frog, I think is the term. But I hope y'all are doing okay, staying in your moment and enjoying yourself. Where is that? Hey, Red, come on in here. Never mind, you probably can't help me. Well, Red just came in, so he has his show coming up. Ooh, he's got his bandana in here. I don't know, maybe we won't end with the song today. Maybe I could just crank this up, and I could just spoken word. We don't know. Red doesn't know. Chat. I've been chatting.
Good to see you, Rob.
Good seeing you too, Red. Welcome from a distance. We're more than 6 feet apart.
We maintain that quite
well. Okay, here we go right here. This could be one of them. I don't know which one this is.
That's the one.
Okay, so this is My Monkey Mind. And this is a little art therapy, kind of in a way. Right, Red?
You got it.
I would say this is art therapy. Monkey. And it's about your monkey mind. Sing along, boys and girls.
Monkey!
Wanna love you when I love you, you my monkey. You're so mean and cruel, but you're mine, oh mine, my little monkey. Little boy had a life-size toy. It was a monkey. When I'd squeeze it, made a cute sound. Hey, monkey, I want you to love me. Monkey, I want to love you when I feel you, you my monkey. I lost my coffee. So mean and cruel, but you're oh my little monkey. Suit and fedora, sits in a bar. He tells a joke to the bartender, who's also a chimpanzee. The joke is about 2 penguins. I wanna love you when I feel you, you my monkey. You're so mean and cruel, but you're mine, all mine, my little monkey. Damn monkeys bite, I tell you. That was Dennis Hopper from Apocalypse Now. I want you to bite me, monkey. I don't really care, you're not mine, all mine. You with me all the time. Hey, monkey, I want you to love me. But we ain't one. Nope. We ain't.